Welcome to Real Chat with Kat, the podcast that's all about real conversations for real transformation. I'm your host, Kat Polsinelli, professional speaker, MC, and best-selling international author. Here, we tackle the tough stuff, the mud that we all have found ourselves in. We talk about the pivots, the challenges, and the victories that shape our lives and our businesses. From overcoming trauma and finding your voice to navigating life's unexpected twists, we get raw, honest, and open. You'll hear from inspiring guests who share their stories of resilience, healing, and growth. Whether it's breaking through emotional abuse, embracing self-worth, or thriving in entrepreneurship, you'll find connection, empowerment, and the tools to keep you moving forward. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and get ready for stories that hit home and conversations that make a difference. Let's get real together. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today on this episode of Real Chat with Kat. I am so excited to have you here with me today, and we are bringing the power today, the Lotus power. I'm so excited about this conversation. Oh, we're going to have so much fun. Okay, you guys, get ready for some high energy. I hope you were looking for an uplift today. If not, get ready because you're about to get one. So, Ann, thank you so much for joining me to the podcast today.
I'm so honored and so excited to be here. Finding you as a Lotus sister has warmed my heart, and I'm thrilled for what we get to chat about. Mud and muck and blossoms and growth and fabulousness all around.
All the things, all the things. So go ahead and get ready. You guys should be taking notes. You're going to want to listen to some of this stuff. So as we dive in, and do us a favor then, tell everybody who you are and what it is that you do.
Yeah, thank you, sweetie. I am Ann Jonas. I'm also known as the Love Messenger, and my business is the Lotus Path. So that's our Lotus connection. My greatest joy is supporting people in remembering that they are a spiritual being here on this planet, having a human experience, and remembering the inner greatness that is part of the light and the love of our true existence. I've been holding space for ever, I think since I came out of the womb, actually. My whole desire is to help and support people and to be in the vein of recognizing that we are greatness from within. And so like the statue that starts from a block, as we chip away and we find and discover what's underneath, and we accept and honor with gratitude and bewilderment. That's my life motto, that life is filled with mud, and the mud is a pathway to evolution and transformation. And that's what I'm offering as transformational perspective guidance and holding space for seekers like myself. I've been doing it my whole life to discover what's truly underneath and to recognize that we are here on a life journey to learn, to teach, to be. That's essentially what I offer through many modalities, holding space in containers virtually, one-on-one. I've been an intuitive body worker for 25 years. I worked as a birth doula. Oh, all the metaphors for birth, right? The idea of birth and death and that like
Yeah.
circle of life. And I essentially love to connect. And that is the Sacred Connection is a book that I've written and a program. We are finishing round 10 of a 9-week webinar. I'm so honored and thrilled to hold space. It's my greatest joy to witness shift, change, evolution. Because guess what? Shift happens, right?
I love that's going to be my new motto.
Yay.
That is the best. Oh my God. I'm going to go downstairs and tell my husband that as soon as we hop off of here. Hey, babe, guess what? Shift happens. He's going to look at me and be like, what?
It's like not shift hit the fan, but
Oh my goodness. I love it though. Like even your energy, your aura, the way that you speak, like it's very calming. It's very matter of fact, but in like the most understanding way possible. Like if that even makes sense to anyone. So I love listening to you anyway. But I think it's wonderful that, like when we first started talking as well, we were talking about how it is something that a lot of people are learning to embrace and still needing to learn to embrace. And that is that we do end up finding ourselves in the mud. Like it just is what it is, right? We all end up going through some form of crap, through some form of stuff that gets us stuck, that we feel like we can't see, that we feel like we're not going to be able to move out of or move forward. And yet, when we continue to push forward and we start to see what it is that it's teaching us, we do have the ability to move on and be able to do things differently.
Yeah, celebrate the poo, right? I mean, that's what that's what we're speaking into. We have a world around us. It's funny, I just see a hummingbird that's hanging out. So little now moment here.
Oh,
The world around us calls us outward. I mean that we're in a time right now where we're being reminded to go in. My job, guess what my job is? The joy of being. Yeah, Job. Yep, that's it, right? And where's my work? Inner work. I mean, I already told you all the other details of what I offer, but essentially what we all get to remember is that we're here for us. And another thing I know, Kat and I, we've talked about this, we choose. We choose everything. We're
hmm.
creating our lives. We make it up. I mean, this is something that we've been dancing in the realm of like science fiction and fairy tales and what's made up and what's real. Guess what, everybody? We're gonna flip that script. What you thought was real, that's the fake stuff. All the stuff that you think is magic, that's the real stuff. That's the fun of this time, this incredible time. We're awakening. There's a consciousness that is flowing through all of our energy because energy is everything. So, yes, it's so fun to be because we're human beings, right? Not doings. We're not human doing.
Yes, definitely. And I love that when you were talking about how we all go through this these transitions and these spaces within our lives, so that essentially our mud, it's interesting when you find yourself in that space and you start to realize that you are the one that ultimately is making the choice, even if it's subconscious, right? And I think a lot of
Absolutely.
us don't know that, or just we don't know how to put those puzzle pieces together yet. I know I didn't for a really long time. It's just now over the last couple of years that I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense now why I decided to do that. It makes sense why I decided to stay in this relationship or go this direction. Or so
Yeah.
it's kind of unique to me because I feel like as you are going through life and you start to kind of see the other side of things, you start to see that we do have the choice, that we are the one that's creating. You almost get to kind of watch the puzzle pieces start to fall back into place as you're building who it is that you want to be now and in the future, which I think is really cool. And I think that it's also a really great reminder for us as well, the importance of going back to the things that we went through or what we had been through and then seeing the difference now. Because I do think that we get caught up in the now, especially with the way that social media is and all the other things that are constantly being thrown at us. And so therefore we keep feeling like we're not good enough, we're not doing enough. There's always that go, 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 go. And I have to do this ever so often where I have to sit down and just kind of look back, just even over the last couple of months, and be like, wow, okay, this happened and this happened and this happened. That means I'm moving in this direction, which means that this is becoming more of a reality. But I think it's that reminder and that check-in that we need to have, which I ultimately think means we
Mm.
have to be able to hold space for ourselves,
Yeah,
which isn't necessarily something that is really taught, in my opinion.
absolutely. Yeah. Well, it's interesting you spoke to we get caught up in the now. And here's the thing, now is only it. There's the only now. We actually really get caught up in the past. We get caught up in the future, right?
Mm,
The now in this recognition of presence and also recognizing you talked about, different timelines, right? We essentially are the center of a spiral, right? The spiral is moving and everything is being attracted to us. Everything is attraction. Everything is magnetism. Everything is a reflection. And so it's interesting you talked about reflecting back. I actually had a moment the other day where I went, oh, Trick, 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 trick. That moment was the catalyst that all of these things then unfolded as a result. Everything is connected. And that is something that we have disconnected from in
Mm.
our world that calls us again outside of ourselves to be caught up in the story. History. Guess what, everybody? Hi, story. Isn't that fun? Hi. It's about recognizing that we are layers of stories, stories that build on other stories, and that we are also on Earth School. I know we've talked about that before, Kat. I mean, we live in a dimension that is about learning. And what
Mm.
does that mean? We're also teaching, right? Everything that we do, regardless of what your role is or your job, whether you have kids, whether you have, community, whether you stand on a stage, everything that we do teaches others because everything ripples. Nothing is in isolation, nothing lives in a vacuum. And when we have, as we in our history have separated ourselves from ourself, I'm going to drop into something I offer, this sacred connection with self and the divine. There's a name. I'm Ann. Hi, I'm Ann. And I am self. I am love. And if you're willing to go there with me, I am God. Yes? To recognize that we are one as everything. And that's something that our the culture of humanity, and I'm not talking like I don't care what country you live in, like this is a human condition. It's
Mhm.
an aspect of, again, putting and allowing outside of ourselves to be the guide, right? We are our own guides as we trust. And that's a hard one. Trusting ourselves, trusting those around us. I've been in many, many, many situations in my life. I'm going to say what in some ways inspired the Lotus Path was a family journey, a childhood journey. And to make it brief and let you know that everything about this story has been a part of my beingness. My parents were divorced when I was 11. Did I tell you this story, Kat?
I don't know. I
My
don't think
parents were
so.
divorced when I was 11. And 25 years later, when I was 36 years old, my dad showed up to my mom's doorstep and he shot and killed her.
Oh,
Nope,
wow.
you didn't know that
No, you
story.
did not
Yeah,
tell
yeah.
me.
And that was 20 years ago, actually. That'll be 20 years ago this summer. And this idea of how we navigate with what's in our world is a reflection of how we are being with ourselves. Yes, I'm going to say that again. How we navigate in this world is a reflection of how we're being with ourselves. And everybody's got a story. We also don't compare tragedies in my world. Mine are for me, yours are for you. I don't have certain experiences in my life. And we all have this place of, again, looking outside for guidance. Remember to look in and then see what you're reflecting in your world.
Mm, thank you so much for sharing that. And that's, and I know that it was, like you said, 20 years ago, but especially knowing that that's family, it's not a stranger. I feel like that's an additional layer of just trying to understand,
Mhm.
when going through that. And I know that you said that that's kind of the transition for creation of your um your Lotus Path. So did you feel like before that there was something you knew that you wanted to do more? I mean, like you said, you've always held space for other people. But was there ever a time that you felt disconnected from that in the things that you've done, or do you feel like everything is kind of stacked on top of itself to get you to where you're at?
Well, I'm going to say your shirt, be real, not perfect. I'm going to let you know I'm a Capricorn and I love the perfection. And I
Okay.
had a magnet for many, many years on my fridge. I actually have a heart on the over the magnet to love the part of me that had this magnet as a motto. People who know it all really irritate those of us who do. How about that? How about that? So I am not perfect, but I'm fabulous. And why am I fabulous? Because I continue to allow myself to grow. And that is the thing. We are essentially in this evolutionary experience. And it's not just what's happening with our bodies and our hair and our lines and our skin and all these other aspects. It's what's happening in our heart. It's what's happening in our consciousness. It's what's happening with and as our being. As humans, we get really attached to particulars, right? That's
Mm,
very much about our, and I have, I mean, I'm as human as everybody else. I also allow myself to have grace. And that is a big part of this. And like I said, gratitude and bewilderment because life is can be a poo show. It can be a poo show. And there's poo and mud and all kinds of things that come in and fully knock us off our game. How do we get to look at those experiences as serving for the next level? So with my parents, I
mm,
mean, there was a lot of drama that I navigated. My dad was bipolar, multiple suicide attempts. My mom had her stuff. So here's a little spin that it's really important for us. And maybe, you're going to hear this for the first time, beautiful listeners. Maybe you feel this is true for you. We choose our parents, we choose everything. We choose because we choose to evolve from a soul space. And it is the human experience that leads us through. And so do we have opportunities to go, oh, that happened, right? And we make those connections. And then we
hmm
also get to bring ourselves here now, right? NOW. When you flip that word, it's WON. When you're here now, you've won. And then you're one with everything. ONE. And guess what? You own the experience then. OWN. So these are words and games and little like buzzy things that we get to play in and I love speaking into. The heart of it is that we're here for a reason. And everything that shows up in our life offers a reason. The beautiful, the challenging, the painful, the eruptive. We're all in a space of transformation. Nobody looks like the person that came out of their mama's womb. I mean, hello, we are growing, we are evolving. How do we do it consciously? Right?
Yeah, I think that's the bigger question and kind of makes me think of, when you're talking about we are here for a reason. And I feel like a lot of times, and myself included in this one for a really long time, we get stuck in, okay, I know I'm here for a reason. I'm starting to understand this and believe this. Now what is it? And it's like, well, that isn't always just an answer that you can call out of the sky and it's just going to fall in front of you. And you're going to be like, okay, this is it. And this is what I should do. And now I know how I'm moving forward. And I think that comes back to what we were talking about at the beginning, which is it's the journey, right?
Yep.
It is. And I know a lot of people say this, and I used to roll my eyes at this, but it also makes sense, is that you learn to enjoy the journey so that even when you get to the destination, the destination is fine and everything, but you get to continue to push further, right? Whereas when we're searching for that destination and those accolades, we forget the journey that we took. So we forget the ups and the downs, the lessons, the things that should be teaching us things, the things that are going to help us moving forward, because a destination is just a space. I mean, if you think about it, you go on vacations, even if it's once or twice a year, you're going to a destination, but then you're going back home. So you're always going to something else, right? Even if you travel to a different space. So you went to the destination, you enjoyed it, but then you went back home. And it's the same thing with the journey of life. Well, you can make it to that destination, but now what? Do you just stay in that destination? Do you decide to go back home? Do you implement what you learned through the journey that got you there? Or do you decide that this is just one place in the road of life and you're like, okay, great. Now that I've done this, now what's next? Right? And I that was really hard for me for a really long time to understand was I don't get the journey. Like this is I'm supposed to have the place that I want to go, what I want to win, what I want to get to. And then there were several places where I did that and I was like, this sucks. Like this is it. Like I now I'm bored, so it makes sense to me now. But if you were talking to people that kind of find themselves stuck in this in-between space where they're like, well, I know that there's a reason why I'm here, but what the hell does that mean? what do you say to them? How do you help them understand that journey and just starting to see past that blinder that's sitting in front of you?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. This is a conversation that's very cerebral, right? I mean, podcasts, they're all cerebral. It's conversation, it's intellect. In that, well, first of all, before I answer that question, I want to say a lot of what you were speaking into is looking at life in a very linear fashion, right?
Mm,
And
true.
that we're born and then we have this life and then we die. Well, guess what? Nobody's getting out of here alive. Like that's the end result. Like that's the deal. Like celebrate the fact that we are here to absorb and witness and create along the way. The end goal, there's no end goal. And that's another pace. Yet, when we allow ourselves to really deeply align and listen, we find ourselves discovering our inner vision, purpose, and passion. And that's essentially what is to be excavated, like that block again, chipping away to discover what the beautiful seed of your vision to be existing.
Mm,
So a lot of the work that I do is about getting out of the head because our mind can construct an entire world that doesn't exist. And what did we just say? Nothing's real. So we are literally envisioning what doesn't exist because we are creating it as we go. So as as somebody who's done intuitive body work for 25 years and my own journey of recognizing the importance of the body, to hold our body, to move our body, to listen to our body. And we are all channels. If you're not familiar, we have a chakra system, right? Those 7 energy centers that line up from our root to our crown. Those are essentially a channel. Everybody hears voices. Okay, so some of this is about recognizing, are these voices negative? Are they supportive?
mm,
So as we listen outside of our head and we listen to what our body offers, that's how I support people in being present. We come out of the head. And it's like an embodiment practice in a way, and that's a beautiful whole skill set to work with embodiment and movement in these other places. There are many modalities that really hold as embodiment as their root. For me, it's about listening to what are the voices underneath my head, right? And where are they coming from, where they are guiding? This is that way. How do we allow ourselves to guide ourselves? So, most of the time, the sort of issues, the life issues that we navigate are based on expectations,
mm,
expectations that come from outside of us. We have a very well organized human system here on Earth. And it's set up, I don't know, I know you, Kat, get this, and many of your listeners as well. Like there's an amnesia, right? That happens to our soul self when we incarnate. These bodies cannot possibly hold the amount of light that we are. Really, truly, we are so much light. And we go smushy into here, and then we're like, I'm going to be a human now, right? That's the journey. And then we forget. We have forgotten that we are powerful, that we're amazing, and that we are love. Love is everything. I wrote a chapter called that. I wrote 2 books. One is From Mud to Lotus is a chapter, and Love is Everything. And I got another book on the way, by the way. And this idea of, thank you, really recognizing that slowing down and I really feel like that's an important part. Like I said, my job, joy of being. There's no activity in there. It's a being thing, right? We are not asked to slow down. We are asked to speed up, right? So
hmm
that idea of right around 5 years old is when that veil seals. Although the kids that have been born on the planet in the last 10 years, they don't have a veil. They don't have amnesia. They are so tuned in and tapped in to what is. You know, it's funny. I don't know if you've ever heard this story, Kat. I wrote it in my book. I heard it first from Wayne Dyer about a couple that had a kid. And then about 4 years later, they had another kid. And the 4 year old wanted to talk to the little baby in the crib by himself. So the
Hmm.
parents were a little bit nervous, like, I don't know, what are you going to do, little baby? So they stood outside the room and they listened. And this little 4 year old says to the little baby brother, tell me about God. I'm starting to forget.
Hmm.
Isn't that powerful?
Wow.
I mean, you can see God in babies and you see it in nature and you see it in animals. And guess what? You're going to see it in me. And you know why? Because you are seeing yourself in me. That's the beauty of this incredible journey is to remember.
Hmm. Oh, there's so many things to unpack there. Okay, let's see. We gotta, we gotta
I know we
figure
need a
out
whole
where
day to do this, right? We need like a day long with the lotuses. We're going to have to
I
do that. We're
know.
going to have to do a day long.
Okay, that would be fun. We would definitely have to do that. I am down with that. Okay, I will start here though. You talk about slowing down,
Mhm.
which is definitely not something we are taught. And for me, I feel like that was a really hard thing for me to understand as well. But I loved that you also said that it comes from the expectations that have been put on us. So not our expectations, but those that we've been raised with or those that have been repeated to us nonstop. And it's really interesting when you sit with that and you think about those voices in your head, right? And, you're trying to figure out where things are going. I'll give you an example. So when I first started working with a spiritual coach, um, one of the things that we talked about was slowing down, which I was like, who does that? And so
That's the opposite of what I've been
right?
told
I'm
to
like, no,
do.
no, 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 that's not what I'm trying to do. And so for her, it was, well, why do you always have to work late? And I was like, well, I'm constantly, I've got to get stuff done. And she was like, why? And then it got to the point where like I couldn't necessarily give a direct answer. I felt like I was fumbling with my words. And she said, what is the reasoning why you keep feeling like you need to do this or you have to shorten your lunch? And I said, well, there's just so much to be done. I said, and if I sit down and decide to watch TV, I said, which I do enjoy doing. I like a good show every once in a while. She said, okay, well, what stops you from that? I said, well, that then I'm being lazy. And she said, so are you a lazy person? I was like, well, no. She's like, have you ever been a lazy person? I was like, well, no. She's like, so then how would you sitting down to take rest make you a lazy person when that's not how you identify? And that one thing, like, it stuck with me, but it was also like, wait a minute.
It's like, who planted that seed? Right?
Right? And then
Yeah.
it started becoming the question that I asked myself, so like when I would go through my emails, I'm like, oh my God, I have to get to people because, they're gonna know that I didn't respond to them and it's been more than 24 hours. And I was like, who decided that?
Right.
Who decided that? And so I stopped doing that, which was a little bit of a panic attack in the beginning. But it got to where it was like, it's not that important, right? And when I do get time to go through them, I scroll and the ones that I'm supposed to get to in that moment, I know those are the ones I respond to. And then I can come back to it when I need to. And I have to say that that in itself has probably been one of the most freeing
Yeah.
things that I've ever done in my life. When you think of, especially, and I know a lot of my listeners are like this, a high achieving, go for all the goals, perfectionist, right? We've got to do all the things. We've got to make ourselves look good. Everybody is looking up to us. Everybody's paying attention. If we don't do it, we're a failure, kind of a thing. And that is so exhausting, so exhausting. And I realized that that literally had been most of my entire life. And now that I've been in a space of having the capacity to slow down and enjoy it, and when I do get to do it, I'm like, this is amazing. I'm going to do it longer. I'm going to go lay in my hammock. Like, I am proud of myself for it,
Yeah.
and I get to enjoy it more because of that versus what I used to do, which was, okay, I'm going to take 10 minutes. I'm going to go sit outside. And then the whole time I'm outside, I'm okay, but I could be doing this and I kind of probably should have been doing this. So instead of beating myself up the whole time, it's become a practice to be like, I'm so proud of you for sitting down and enjoying your lunch without your phone in your hand. I'm so proud of you for sitting out in nature. I'm so proud, like, so and I don't think that we talk about this enough, although I know that it's starting to become a little bit more of a thing, but it is the way that we define ourselves as well, is going to lean into how we treat ourselves and then where that ends up moving us forward. Still coming back to what you were saying, right? We're coming back to ourselves instead of that outside space.
Well, a big part of this is compassion, beautiful ones.
Mm,
We are not taught to have downtime unless we're, like you said, watching TV. Like that's an acceptable downtime
hmm.
versus, and okay, so it is really important, everybody, to get barefoot on the ground. I don't care what season it is. I happen to live in Idaho. I did go out in the snow, not every day, but it's a really refreshing experience. And then the feet turn really red and you're like, woo, I've got this, right? Cold Will Hoff. Will Hoff is what is
Oh,
what is the cold
Wim Hof.
Wim
Yeah.
Hof, yeah. The cold plunge dude. It's
Yes.
here's the thing. Slowing down is not what we are taught to do. I mean, think about it. We drive fast, we like roller coaster rides, we've got laundry lists of things that need to be done. We have alarm clocks. I mean, that's the other thing. Time is a construct. So I love you were speaking to the emails. Divine timing. Everything happens in its own divine timing. And I spoke to this already. Trust. I mean, these are buzzwords I'm throwing around, but these are words that we really, when we feel them, not just hear them, but when we feel them and we recognize, what does trust mean? Trust means I'm allowing. Trust means I'm surrendering, letting go.
Mm,
So how might we let go of the word indoctrination is dropping into my head right now. We've been indoctrinated as a human condition. And up until, maybe the last 2 years, 5 years, depends on what circles, 10 or 20 or 30 or 50, we have been speaking into this idea. And now more and more people are dipping their toes in. Are you dipping your toes in? Are you getting your fingers in? Maybe your little hairs in? How might you be dancing with
hmm.
beingness? And it really is about a deconstruct. But guess what? That's what's happening everywhere on our planet right now. We're in the middle of a massive deconstruct. I don't care what country you live in, back to that again. There is a boatload of drama that we are being offered. Guess what? Drama, another D word, distraction.
Mm,
And so because we are so conditioned to dance in drama, there's this beautiful woman, Connie Podesta. I've been following her for about 15 years, and she speaks to audiences and she talks about, for one, celebrating ourselves. Okay. That idea of like, what is celebrating ourselves, acknowledging ourselves, standing up and sharing a win. Well, that is not bragging and it's not boasting. But the
yeah.
idea is when you ask a group of people to say, what's amazing about your life? Nobody wants to say anything. Nobody wants to speak because that means they might look better than somebody. When you ask the question of like, well, what went wrong in your life? Cacophony. Because
Mm,
we're really been trained to celebrate the negative. It's it's the history that, most of us that are on the planet right now have been, again, indoctrinated into. And so these are places where we're peeling away. We're all peeling away. We're shedding. We're shedding the layers. And so that's going to feel very uncomfortable and very raw and very vulnerable. But something else you spoke into, I was thinking about vulnerability, especially as a coach, as a leader,
hmm.
as somebody who holds space for others. Guess what? I already told you my story. Our mess is our message. I mean, back to be real, not perfect.
Yeah.
Literally, we all lead through our own journeys. And so it is in recognizing that our life, when we're authentic and we're vulnerable, that's where we meet. Being amazing is untouchable. You can't train people to be amazing. You show up as real, and that's a magnet.
Hmm. Yeah. I really agree with that too, because I remember when I used to be the face that I thought everybody wanted me to be. And I
Mhm.
think of the people that were around me at that time. Not that they were all bad people. It's just, it wasn't necessarily my people. You enjoy being around them for a little while, but you need your breaks and things like that. Or like you were saying, there is the drama that comes along with it, that becomes a part of it. And I will say that in just not giving a shit and just being me and having the conversation, while yes, it has definitely pushed a lot of people out of my life, which made it feel very lonely for a
Yeah.
while. The people that I have met now, I don't have to pretend. There is no face. It's just me. And either
Yeah.
you like it or you don't. And that's not my problem. Right? Like, I mean, I know that's going to sound terrible to some people, but that's the space that I am in. But being in that space has also been extremely freeing because I can just be me.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. Like, if you're not ready to accept that, that's okay. That means you're not on that path. You're not on that journey. We're not on the same wavelength. Totally cool. I remember being there at one time. I remember being the person that every time I saw someone that looked happy or looked like they were doing good, I was like, "Ugh, whatever, they're just blah, 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 blah." Like I remember being that person.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now that I am, and it's funny, my husband and I had this conversation not too long. He's like, it just feels fake. I said, but it's not. I said, that's the
Mhm.
crazy part. I said, you're right. I said, in the beginning, it really did feel that way. I said, and I had to kind of push myself to be like, you know what? No, I am happy for that person. Doesn't matter if they're further than I feel like I should be. I'm happy for them. I said, but in doing that, it just became who I was. I said, and I really am happy for those that are at different places than I am because I know that my journeys may be going this direction. I said, but it's not fake. I said, that's the best part. I always thought people that were like that was fake. And I'm sure that there are some out there that are, right? I'm not saying, but that's not what I see in my life, which is
Yeah.
really cool, right? We come back to like attracts like, we're all a magnet. And so you are pulling yourself to those situations, to those people, to those things when you just become you.
Well, and I'm going to say that in many coaches and teachers speak to this. Take a look at the five main people in your world. They are a reflection of you. Are you
Hmm.
enjoying how they are being and showing up in the world? Does it feel aligned? Do you like who you're being as a reflection of them? And if the answer is yes, yay, I'm so happy for you. And if the answer is no, yay, I'm so happy for you. Right? Because that means that there's an awareness there.
Hmm.
And this other aspect of we are all leading each other home, right? We're all serving and supporting one another. And being, you know, I'm going to admit something here. I mean, I've been on this path since I came out of the womb, like I said. I've been helping and supporting people. I'm a seeker. I've always been curious. And over the years, I would notice how people were shining their light, right? They were coming out, they were offering, they were a channel, they were sharing that they offer light language. And I'm sitting back and I'm like, you too? What? Everybody's a channel now. Like everybody's got a light language situation. And I literally remember seeing a friend like in a community. We were all like being coached. We were part of a big community. And I'm sitting back. I literally had my arms crossed. I'm sitting in front of the computer watching, suffering, judging. Guess what? I'm a channel. I offer light language. Years later, as that truth bubbled up, and I got to tell that woman actually, she was a Sacred Connection co host, she was a Sacred Connection co author. And I got to tell her, hey, I got all judgy on you. And that was so freeing.
Mm.
Because why? Guess what? I'm sure you've all seen this. Point a finger, three. Three, actually four, if you look at that thumb, is pointing right back at you. Anything that we project outward is a reflection of who we are being inward. And so
Mm,
dancing in that place, like you said, of seeing others that are maybe ahead of you or what you think is ahead of you,
yeah.
we're all flowing. We're all part of the ocean of oneness. I mean, we are 70% water. The earth is 70% water, right? I mean, isn't that a powerful thing? Like
Hmm.
literally, we're reflections of the earth itself. And so as we allow, and you get the fish in the water situation behind you over there. So, it's like we have so many places where our guidance is literally right in front of us. Now, I mean,
Hmm.
there are many, many, many people that offer what I offer: spiritual coaching, life coaching, transformational coaching, leadership. We've got, people working in ministry and, everywhere, everywhere. You, your own beautiful self are your guide. And it's really amazing to be in community, to be witnessed, to be heard, to be seen. How about that? Who likes to be seen in the world? That can be very scary. Why? We wear, what do we wear? We wear makeup, especially as women. We wear makeup. We wear a mask. We go out of the house all put together. And that's not me. I'm not a put together person. I'm a free being. My daughter's like, "You're wearing that outfit?" Yes, I am.
Go you, Anne.
56, I can do that. But this is another thing. I mean, this is part of our, but again, you look at these little kids out in the world right now and they don't care. We
Hmm.
cared a lot. Baby boomers, Gen Xers, we cared a lot. Now we get to care about our heart.
Mm,
Like when you think about it, the heart chakra is the fourth chakra. We got three below and three above. It's a bridge. And guess what? Our heart exists and beats because we're alive, because of breath. And guess where breath comes from? Breath is life. Breath is divine. As we slow down and we allow all of these expectations to ease away, they may not fall, right? They may like shimmy. Trust and recognize we are visions of art in the making, and we get to reinvent and recreate and fall apart and come back together. It's a roller coaster ride. I used to say, put on your seatbelt. I've changed that. Take it off and put your arms up. My daughter said, but then you're going to die. I was like, we're all going to die anyway. That's not the point of the story, my sweet thing. It's about recognizing where's freedom? What's
Yeah.
freedom? What is true freedom? Guess what? You get to be free when you decide you're free. We are sovereign beings. Nobody gives us freedom. And I know that's not a happy conversation, especially in the climate of our country right now.
Hmm.
So I'm not speaking to politics. I'm speaking to that inner light. Free your light. We are all visions of greatness.
Mm, yeah. And I think that politics gets in the way of a
Mhm.
lot of things. And, I stopped following it. I stopped watching it. I don't have the conversations about it because ultimately, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And like, I don't have control over it. I can't stand up and be like, I'm going to stop it all. So for me, it's like, so why am I wasting all of my breath talking about it? Why am I wasting all of my time thinking on it? Why am I wasting my time watching it just to be angry, upset, or indifferent when I could just go out and do whatever the hell I want,
Well,
right?
again, it's that aspect of a polarity.
Hmm.
It is really, it is separating people. The
Yeah.
political experience. And here's something we haven't really talked about today, but control, fear, or love, light.
Hmm.
How do you desire to walk the earth? yes, I get it. We live in a country and there's navigation and all of these aspects. We're all not I'm not hidden in the bush, okay? I mean, I live in a house in a community. I pay my bills. I got all that thing going on. And yet I choose to where I put my attention.
Hmm.
There's so much beautiful information available that brings us into oneness, not diversifying, not
Hmm.
separating, not creating exclusivity. It's trusting that your light is enough. So, yes, turn off the news. That is one very easy step.
Hmm.
And I mean, the argument, especially people in my family, but then you won't know what's going on in the world. Well, I don't really like what's going on in the world. So I prefer my happy place, which of course has a lot of like spiritual bypassing. So you're spiritual bypassing. Guess what? We are all here dancing together.
Hmm.
We're all here creating. And as the Lotus twins here. Lotus twins, activate. Okay, so we were talking about that earlier. Like I'm 20 years on this sweet thing over here, and I was like, Wonder Twin. Anybody is a Gen Xer? Wonder Twin powers activate. So anyway, as the Lotus twins are speaking into this, what do we celebrate? We celebrate the mud. That's
Hmm.
not spiritual bypassing, people. We are going in to the places that are guiding us through. Those things out in the world distract us. They keep us in our spin out loop. So, how do you desire to show up? Do you desire to be called from within, or do you desire to be reflected as to what's going on in the world? Because we're all making up our life here.
Hmm. Yep. Like we said in the beginning, right? You get to choose.
Yep.
We choose happy places. Doesn't mean that there aren't things that go wrong and things that we have to work out. But again, we're
Mm.
choosing to focus on those things. And those are things that I can control or I can look at and reflect on and fix or learn from. Everything else, somebody's going to talk about it anyway. So I'm going to hear about it at one point or another. So it's fine. But I agree with you. You have to make that decision and you have to choose your hard because we're always going to go
Absolutely.
through things. So are you making it harder on yourself because you're choosing to be involved in a drama that you can't solve, or are you choosing the things that you need to go through and you need to learn so that you can learn more about you and learn to be in a happy place and still deal with conflict and things that are coming up? Because that's the space I have now chosen to be in. So,
Well, it's
um,
interesting. As I was listening to you, I've got my parents' story, and then I was married, and my partner passed away from melanoma, and I was left as a widow with a 2-year-old. I got some beautiful mud stories. And there are others that dance in diagnoses, right? All kinds of dis-ease conditions. People lose their jobs. People have financial aspects. There are so many. They're accosted, right? They're hurt. They're in a major car accident, and then people say, "Well, I chose that," and I say, "Yeah, yeah, I know that's tough. So let's dance in that because guess what? Everything's a transformation." And we're going to transform through it, or we're going to transform and die. Now, we can transform and die and still be on the planet, though. Where's your
mm,
light? And really recognizing that everything is here to, I mean, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger, right? I mean, how many times have we heard that thing? No pain, no gain. I mean, these are like little
yep.
phrases that us human beings have grown up with, and yet they are relevant. So for anybody out there who's like, well, I got this and that going on, and how dare you? And I don't know about love and light and all this other stuff. What my thoughts are is listen to what your life is showing you as how you are showing up.
Mm,
Do you feel alive and authentic? Are you in pain? That's alive and authentic. Are you hurting? That's alive and authentic. Are you shining? That's alive and authentic. None of these, there's no judgment. When we release the judgment and we trust, back to that big T word. I love T words, transformation, trust. touch. I love touch. We need to touch each other more. That's really lacking in our world. Touch and connection. I mean, I love this container. I love the Zoomies. Guess what? I love myself so much. I'm gonna hug on myself and you're gonna witness me. Like we can really deeply connect. We can touch one another through our words, through our literally witnessing. Have you ever
Yeah.
done an exercise like in a workshop where you stand and you look at each other eye to eye and you don't talk and you don't touch? Have you ever done
I've
something like
heard of
that?
this. No, but I've heard of this.
Powerful. And
Really?
I've done it as a participant, I've done it as a facilitator, and it's it's otherworldly. And literally as you stare into each other's eyes, like I guarantee you're going to cry. I mean, that's a big thing. We don't like tears in this world. We don't.
Hmm.
Actually, I have a thing I'm like, this is a tissue box. Everybody know what that? When I'm in an in-person, because you know why? We've been trained to give tissues when people are crying. But what does that do? That dries them, that stops them.
Mm.
Typically, as humans, we're not comfortable in the uncomfortable. And so the more that we allow it for ourselves, the more we hold space for others, the more we actually connect.
Oh, okay. And we're gonna have to do part two. We're gonna have to do part two. Because we gotta touch more on this. Because anyway, we need more of this in the world. And I think that more people are starting to feel this and understand it, just don't know exactly how to navigate it or get started because it is
Yeah.
scary, right? Because it's not something that we've been taught. So tell everybody then, how can they connect with you? How can they be in your world? Because I know that you've got this container as well. So tell us all the things.
Yeah. The lotuspath.love. Yes, it is .love. I love it so much. The lotuspath.love is where you're going to find everything Love Messenger, everything Ann Jonas, and everything in the realm of support and guidance. I offer monthly portal energy perspective guidance. So I have a YouTube channel and the Love Messenger. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and I offer a Sacred Connection 9-week webinar 3 times a year. And so that's a beautiful way to be in a group setting virtually. I live on Idaho Earth, and so I offer in-person work as well and transformational guidance through this virtual container. It's my absolute joy and pleasure to walk the path, showing the greatness through the mud. So come
Mm.
play with me. I have lots of ways, lots of ways.
I love it. And of course, we'll have all that information in the show notes. They'll make it super easy for you guys to find Ann and connect with her and be in her world. So, Ann, thank you so much for sharing all of your knowledge and your mud and your light to the
Oh,
audience today.
my pleasure. It's a beautiful reflection. I'm honored to be a part of your experience and reflect and witness you and celebrate that we are doing this as a community of beautiful vibrational beings. So thank you for
Yes.
the opportunity.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you. To everybody else out there, I know this was a lot to take in. But if you are listening to this, it means that you were called to hear it for some reason. So pay attention to the words that were being used. Pay attention to the things that caught your attention. Pay attention to the things that made you uncomfortable and the things that made you comfortable or that somehow felt right, even though it sounded like it didn't make sense. Because that is something that is calling to you to tell you that this is the next step. This is that poke. This is that small push, that pinprick hole where you can see the light through for whatever it is that you are going through and whatever it is that you are going to go through in your life. So until next time, do one thing positive for someone each and every day and see the difference that it makes in your life. Catch you next time.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Real Chat with Kat today, where real stories meet real solutions. If you love today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review on Apple, and share this with someone who may also need to hear this as well. Let's also keep the conversation going. Follow me on socials at The Lotus Effect, connect with our incredible guests, and remember, you are never alone. Your story matters, and you have the ability and the power to to rewrite it. You always have a choice. Until next time, stay strong, stay inspired, and keep showing up as the incredible, unstoppable